Hello, my fellow patriots. This is Alex with Disabled Vets Perspective, and boy, do we have a show for you tonight. And I want to say right off the bat, hello, everybody. I'll go through my list of names for credits here in just a second, but I want to say if you're a moderator on this channel, please, it is very, very important that you try to keep cycling my DLive link as much as possible. And if you folks are not on my DLive, this is the time to do it because today's subject matter, I'm kind of tired of the crap that's going on, so I plan on throwing down, and I'm going to introduce you guys to Blacklock, otherwise known as Antifa, and we're going to get into some history on them. We're going to get into some stuff, and before I do that, I want to go ahead and bring up my esteemed colleague and fellow curator of the bad news. Anyway, so here is Pete the Patriot. Thank you. All right. Matthew, how you doing? All right, so let's go through some credits here. Give some people credit's due, and I'm gonna make sure my DLive's up and going. All right, thank you for the diamond, Shanty Schaefer Bear. Who else we got there? Soylent Green, welcome. Duke Roll, good to see you. Karen 100 just followed. Thank you, joined us. Good to see you. Susie by the Sea also just followed us on DLive, and Ken nicely dropped a diamond on me. Appreciate you for that. All right. Glad you guys are on my DLive. It is very important because this could be it for me on YouTube. We'll just see how this all works out. Margot, good to see you always. Welcome. Drop it like a Scots in the house. Cue the Pete. Duke Roll. Patriot. Yep, there it was. Rude Arte de Andrea Adeo. How are you doing? Here it is.
I just like saying that.
Again, conservative patriot Kenneth Nicely. Well, I do too, if my tongue doesn't fall out of my head trying to do it.
Right.
I Bleed American. Welcome. DPFX, $99.99. Just $99.99.
That's right.
Margot again. Tony Patriot's in the house.
Hey,
Matthew,
what's up, Tony?
Course, Truth Not Fiction Matters. You guys got to follow him. Again, I got I Bleed American Hundo. Jeff B's up in the house. Eric Chanel. Man, I got a good crowd. Steak 59's in here. Susan Q. Lulu. JB Walter. Yeah, if I was running credits on the end of the movie after this, I think half the audience would just walk out or fall asleep from all the names. Kelly 22's in the house. Good to see you. All right, so California Cricket. Didn't want to forget him. Northern Tigers here too. All right. If I
like this,
didn't get far enough up to get your name, just wave at me, insult me. Yeah. All right. So here's the dealio, yo. I got some stuff I want to bring up on the screen, and it's going to pitch the two of us off to the side. But before I do that, how are you, Mr. Pete? Good to see you,
I'm
sir.
good. I'm good. Are we gonna get into the historic end of this?
Oh, we're going to introduce some backstory, of course.
Okay.
The Bubba News. Good to see you. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Bubba News too. He's got some good reports going on too, and also Tony Patriot. You know what? I'll say it just this time. If you want to have your channel posted on my channel, that is absolutely fine with me. Just let one of my moderators know, and we'll work them to death today. Let them drop your link, get you some credit there. And we need to all stick together. We need to be forming this coalition of patriots. We need to be now more than ever. We need to have our network, and that means the network of social media, but also a network of contacts. One way you can do that is by, like in my channel, I got my email. If you want to make contact with me, you contact me through the email. I'll give you a phone number. We can drop a line. And we have to build this network. We need to build our community. As you can see, Antifa is building their community. And at this point, we're losing the information warfare. So we need to get this done. All right. What I want to start with is, like I say here, I want to introduce people that are beneficial to the Patriot movement and introduce more into our coalition. And I wanted to start with this channel right here. I'm gonna open it up a little bit so it can be seen. This guy is Don't Drink the Kool-Aid. All right. Um, he does, or she, I don't know, he or she does a great channel. And this one here, I don't want to take anybody's thunder, but I'm gonna play a second of it here just to show you what he's found. Um, in the research, this person has come up with the apparently the bylaws and the information that is being distributed by Antifa or Blacklock to prospects, and they call themselves prospects just like gang members do for motorcycle clubs.
Yep.
Okay, drop it like a Scott. I'll do that. I'll get it to you. Anyway, so I want you guys to subscribe to Don't Drink the Kool-Aid and then pull up this video on what Antifa wants from the people, because this lays it out. It tells you exactly what their plan is. It gives you their link in history to who they are and kind of where they come from, and a very interesting, probably not so well known fact about Blacklock or Antifa. And there's a reason I'm calling it Blacklock, but I'll get to that in a minute. Hippies for Trump, how you doing? This organization has been around for quite a while. It was introduced into this country in 2018, conveniently, and there's a real serious connection that links them directly to the New World Order. They are the designated foot soldiers to implement the New World Order, and that's all explained in that document that Don't Drink the Kool-Aid found. So if you need to read it. There's no, I mean, it plays a little bit of music, but I find it easier to turn the music off and then just read it at my pace, stop the frames, that kind of stuff. But it's very interesting what these people are and where their foundation started. Now,
a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know where Antifa started or why it was started.
Well, why don't you go ahead and I'll let you handle the introduction of Antifa.
Well,
That's
Antifa started. It started back in the early 1900s, right after let's put it this way, right after World War I. After World War I, the German people were at war with each other for basically Germany itself. They had the Democrats, the German Democrats, they had the communists, they had the other parties were all fighting each other. And in the late 20s, early 30s, when Adolf Hitler decided he was going to throw his hat in the ring at the behest of other people to be part of the government, the communists created the anti-fascist movement because they thought that the democratic Germans, which Hitler was a part of, were fascists. They wanted to not control the people enough. They wanted to blah, 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 blah. So in all actuality, the Antifa are the fascists. They are the communists that are trying to take over the democracy. They considered Hitler a good guy, and they wanted to take him out so they could implement their communism in. This is the big misconception that a lot of people have. Like you said, they think Antifa came around in 2018. Well, actually, Antifa, Alex, has been around since the Occupy Wall Street back in the early 2000s. They just went by Occupy Wall Street, but it was an Antifa faction from Europe that came over. They didn't use the anti-fascist name. They used Occupy Wall Street, but they were the same faction. So yes, you're right, and you know, information's a little off. So there you go.
That's what I said was they were introduced in the U.S. under Antifa in 2018. I should have been more specific. Thank you, Tony Patriot, for the super chat. Appreciate you, brother. But that's where Blacklock comes in.
Yeah. One thing, could I just say one thing before we really get into this? Tony Patriot, do me a favor.
Too late.
And send me your phone number through my email, PeteThePatriot@yahoo.com. It's a different number I got, brother. I'm sorry. I should have texted you about it, but I will send you the new number and you can contact me. That being said, please go ahead, Alex.
Okay. Since I was so rudely interrupted, I mean, I guess really not rudely, because when you're talking to Tony, you know, that's more important than me, of course, but we all love Tony. Yes. All right. So the reason I said I'm going to point to Blacklock is because the organization, the shadow organization has really been Blacklock, and they only recently came up with a title for that organization. It's been under many names in the past, yes, but it's been the same entity. It's always hide the identity, dress down in solid black, you know, the ninja gear or whatever, so that you can commit crimes without penalty because you can't be identified. Everybody dresses alike. Everybody has the same mannerisms, and everything is taught to these people in a little bitty bookstore, and you know, they make everybody uniformed in that sense so that nobody can be picked out between others. It's like, yes, when they talk about how to wear your weapons, they're very specific. Don't be the one with the studded wrist bracelet in the middle of a crowd of people that have all theirs closed up, because you'll be pinpointed. So they teach them how to conceal their weaponry and how to and when to present their weapons for the assault that they refer to as defense. Now, these people have an ideology that they think puts them in a superior position over anybody else on the planet. And the problem is, with their ideology, they think that every single time they attack somebody else, they're attacking that person as self-defense, because they have categorized all these people as a threat to their well-being and their safety. So they don't look at an unprovoked attack on somebody as a defensive or as a aggressive manner. They look at it as a defensive action, and that's a dangerous way to be. I don't know.
Yes, it is dangerous.
Locked up.
Oh, I gotta look.
But it also kind of, okay, it's just mine then. My system's slow right now. It's not used to running because I haven't had a signal in so long, so it's trying to catch up now. But anyways, so the same kind of, if you were going to use their logic or their lack of logic in the scenario that we're all facing today, wouldn't it be considered a defensive measure to take out somebody who is in the Democrat Party, for example, that has constantly said we need to get rid of Whitey, and all patriots are a threat to the country, and that we are all domestic terrorists because we support our flag or God or guns and everything else that comes with it? We are considered a sincere threat, an imminent threat to the country, which gives them the right to kill us off, which wouldn't, if we use the Blacklock or Antifa ideology there as our basis for action, wouldn't we be defending our own lives by taking out the people that are constantly saying we need to die?
Yes. And you see, herein lies the problem. Here lies the problem. You can call them Antifa. You can call them like Occupy Wall Street. You can call them Blacklock. You can call them whatever you want to name that group. But what the problem is that the emulation of what they are has nothing to do with the past. They say that they're anti-fascist, they're anti-this, they're anti-that. They never say that they are pro-communist. Okay? They want their own people, their own, and it's not a Democrat-Republican thing either. They don't know what they want. They want the mayor of Seattle to step down. Right now, they want the mayor of Seattle to step down, okay, while she's on CNN defending their occupation of a 7 square block chunk of land. She's on there defending them, saying that it's a peaceful protest or it's just like a block party. It's like a festival. And they're calling for her resignation. These people are all over the place. As opposed to their mother group, the anti-fascists from the 1930s and 40s, who had a specific thing in Germany, was to take out.
Oh, these are young, stupid kids.
Yes, they wanted to take out the party of Adolf Hitler. They did not like the fact that Hitler was state-sponsoring vacations and creating jobs and creating things to bring Germany back to the greatness that it was before World War I. They did not like that fact. And please don't anybody think I'm trying to upsell Hitler, because it's not the truth.
No.
Hitler used the Jews as an excuse to uplift his country. Now, the anti-fascists back then were responsible for things like the burning of the Reichstag, the assassination of high-ranking Nazi officials. Reinhard Heydrich, the leader in Bohemia and Moravia, was murdered by Antifa, anti-fascists, by throwing a hand grenade into his car. These are things that Antifa does. They were a cohesive, one leader, follow the doctrine group, in direct contradiction of today, where if this girl is cuter in this anti-fascist group, I'm going to go over there. That's what
it's all about getting laid.
Is here. So go ahead. I keep going.
Well, I just wanted to take a quick minute and wave a couple of thank yous at Suzanne for the lemon and also the bee lady. And she made a good point. You are all going to need honey. And she put an LOL behind that, but that's actually very, very true.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you are prepping a survival kit, you very much should have honey in that kit, because you can pack a wound with honey and prevent bacteria from getting in that wound and really reduce the risk of infection. That's some old medicine right there. So it's really sticky, but there's a benefit to it. Also, Margot dropped me a Ninja Genie, and thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate you. Yeah, she rocks. She always takes good care of all of us. It's amazing. Namvet donated a lemon also, and I appreciate that. So, yeah, what we've got going on right now with Antifa is they have occupied a zone in Seattle, which you were talking about. It's approximately 6 square blocks, but there's movement in the periphery that they're going to try to be expanding this thing a little bit at a time. And all they have to do is move their barriers out a few feet in the middle of the night. But also these zones, these USA free zones, are going to be popping up in other liberal cities, because this was another pilot program. Everything they do is a test and putting a toe in the water. And this one has been getting so much support that they're going to pop up in other liberal cities. So, um, what I've got, let me see here. The the interesting thing about these idiots that are now uh, occupying Seattle is the way they want to do things. They want to eliminate the police. They want to eliminate structure of any kind. They want total anarchy and free for all. But what they've done in their little social experiment is they've created a barrier which goes against one of their rules. They don't want any borders, but
No
they put
walls.
one up themselves. Right. No walls, no borders. And
Yep.
they don't want guns. They don't want anybody to have guns, but they're
But they're
using
armed.
armed security to guard their borders. They don't want anybody to have to pay for anything, but yet they're extorting the local businesses to pay for
Yes.
their protection. So everything they're doing is bass backwards. They're blowing it. But what has happened is we've also introduced the first warlord to an occupied territory because
Yes.
a former rapper named Raz has brought his gangbangers in there fully armed and now is strong arming the people into following his orders. And
Right.
again, they said no police. And one of his first quotes on a live feed was, "We are the police of this community now." So
So here,
I'm
Alex.
bringing this stuff up so that you guys can see the stupidity of it. Okay, go
Now,
ahead.
answer me a question. Answer me a question. And I'm going to start this statement off with I do not advocate violence on any Antifa members. What happens if this Raz guy, whatever his name is, wakes up tomorrow morning with his head cut off? Nobody knows who did it. But what happens if this guy dies? If maybe one of the citizens said, hey, you know what? This is the guy who's running the thing. I think we need to take him out. What's Antifa going to do then? Are they going to start turning and pulling citizens out of the houses and shooting them, executing them?
Well,
What's going to
it's
happen?
very likely because when you do what
It's very
they're doing, their social experiment,
Uh-huh.
they don't want anything that anybody else has, but they want to produce it themselves. To include the uh, the the strongest arm of the law that can be created is a citizen of anarchy making the decisions.
Right.
It'll be mob rule. One person will jump up and yell, "Kill him!" and then everybody will jump up, "Yeah, let's kill him!" And then they'll have hanging parties in the streets and all
Okay.
the things that they're against. They're going to
So,
introduce under their terms instead of the civilization.
right. But once the killing goes in the other direction, okay, because killing goes in both directions. It doesn't just go in one direction. It goes in both directions. And the people that they want
Right.
to kill are I'm gonna go out on a loop here and I'm gonna say they're more trained, more heavily armed, and more willing to commit heinous, violent acts to protect their families. What happens when that happens? What happens, like I always said, when you have to call up little Billy Antifa's mom and say, hello, Mrs. Little Billy Antifa, you need to bring a sponge and a bucket and maybe a squeegee because your son is all over the wall. What happens when that happens? You see, that hasn't
They call it
happened yet.
modern art.
That hasn't happened yet, Alex. All these protests, all these things. You get an Antifa guy. I saw this clip run 150,000 times, 1 million hits on YouTube. The guy punches the guy in the face and he gets all stiff and he falls out on the floor. That's
right.
not
That was
violent.
a bad dude. I can't believe that Patriot did that.
Yes,
Yeah, that was
you know
disgusting.
What? That's not violence, Alex. That is not violence.
No,
that
that's
is
protesting.
Protecting himself with his fists. That's not violence.
Yeah, that's.
They have not.
But that's a new term they've got for protesting.
Right. But Antifa has not seen violence yet. Being pepper sprayed or hit with a rubber bullet or a bean bag or any of that stuff, that's not violent. Those are non-lethal things to get you to stop being a jerk.
Right.
When they encounter
I wonder if it works.
Yeah, when they encounter violence on a level like patriot American people will do to protect their family, they're not going to have a stomach for it. They're just not going to have a stomach for it.
Right.
I'm sorry. Occupying 7 blocks in Seattle is not going to be good enough.
No. No, it's what they consider a start. But I wanted to jump to this next thing I had pulled up here because people are probably wondering why the hell I got this sitting over here next to us. What I wanted to do is give you the example of the compare and contrast to how we are looked at in this new society.
Okay.
This thing here, let me get over here where I can give it a little credit, even though it doesn't deserve it. This is an article from Ryan W. Miller, USA Today. It says, Chaz, a no-cop co-op. Here's what Seattle's Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone looks like. And it says, now, bear with me. In Seattle, a group of peaceful protesters have cornered off several city blocks and established the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, a sort of protest haven where artists paint murals and speakers discuss topics of racial equality. Snacks are handed out for free and virtually no police are in sight. That is just the first paragraph. I'm going to try not to puke after reading that. Karen, thank you for the diamond. Appreciate you. But in this same organization, USA Today, when we had Patriot by the courthouse with long guns, there was a series of articles that came out referring to the vigilantes and the crazy white protesters with their long guns. So everything you saw was to vilify the Patriot. And even though nothing happened to anybody, even in Virginia, when we had our rally there, Antifa wanted to spark that thing off so bad they could smell it. But the cops kept them corralled away from us.
That don't mean shit.
It was actually kind of funny. The cops had them rounded up and cattle called them.
That doesn't mean nothing.
But what the thing is, the media thinks that Antifa is the almighty super powerful and that they will control the land. What they don't seem to realize, Antifa has had training in the back of a library or a bookstore by a bunch of kids who think, oh, we'll reach for the eyes because that's a nice, easy target and we can gouge the eyes and we'll take a person that's 780 pounds right to his knees by doing that. I got news for them. If you have any experience fighting, one of the hardest targets is going to be to try to get your fingers near somebody's eyes. Because you reach for my eye, I'm going to break your finger in 3 or 4 different places. It's going to really suck.
Yeah, it's going to hurt.
That's the training that they get. And what they don't realize is if the media wasn't hyping them up and they were actually going to get just the tiniest taste of reality, then, they would probably stop this crap. Because here's what I think is going to happen. I really believe that the Patriots have reached their boiling point
It's getting
because
close.
the cops are standing down. The National Guard is on their goddamn knees, and the governors and the mayors are giving everybody stand down orders and giving free rein to these terrorists.
Yeah.
I think that you're going to start seeing some operations going on, and I don't want to get anywhere close to information about that, but just understand that it is very, very likely. But the other thing is, Antifa has corned off this area, and in their borders that shouldn't exist, with their guns that shouldn't exist guarding the borders, they have also made it clear that when you walk past that border, you are leaving the United States of America.
Okay.
So we have a hostile country that is full of terrorists within the borders of our sovereign nation. There is no law on the books anywhere that says that we as American sovereign people cannot defend our land from a domestic enemy that has seized our territory. I don't care who thinks the law books are going to be in their favor on that one. They ain't. So when this operation happens, there will not be legal police interaction.
No.
If the police attempt to arrest operators for removing terrorists from within a sovereign nation, then they also have made themselves enemy combatants. With these type of people, there is no guarantee of a trial. There is no phone call. There is no guarantee of freedom, no expectation of a speedy trial.
Nope.
And they have thrown all of their constitutional rights out. They're not entitled to any of them. So when this operation happens,
yeah,
things are going to look a little different around here. I'm going to just say, Rogue Ferret dropped me a diamond. Thank you very much.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, so
I
give me more,
Alex.
Pete.
I know that you wanted this to turn out to be a serious show, and you're fed up, and I understand that because I am fed up too. But what we neglect to tell our fans, the people who watch us, the people who these are a bunch of children. They're a bunch of children.
Even the ones that are
even
the ones that are adult age.
Listen to me very carefully. Who the people who are living in Seattle in a 6-block radius are allowing to take over their city. The people. If the people weren't complicit with this stupidity, they would not be there.
Well, I can give you one reason why people are resistant to stand up. They don't understand the Constitution. Okay. But they also believe, and they have been shown, that if you're a criminal, the police will stand down. If you are a law-abiding citizen that do something in the defense of yourself or the ones around you, you get arrested. So that little bit of fear keeps an awful lot of people in their easy chair at the house. When people start to understand their Constitution, they realize the breakdown of the natural law of this land, then, things will happen. And maybe the general public won't be there, but remember, there's only 3% of the population that defended this country the first go around.
Do you know why?
There's still that same population.
Do you know why they say only 3% represented in the Revolutionary War? There was only 3% of the population that stood up with the colonials to fight the British. Do you know why?
Oh, I do. I'm sure that everybody else would want to know, though.
The rest of the 97% of the people who occupied this country at that time lived nowhere near where the fighting was. Nowhere near. And most of them didn't even know, or they didn't even care.
Right.
But the 3%
Well, we already have the they don't care
in the
part.
metropolitan areas, in the areas where the British were trying to take over, Boston, New York, New Jersey, places like that, of course there's the 3% of the population of those cities did it. That's why we call ourselves 3%. Because we're the ones who are willing to go and do that stuff. I'm telling you, Alex.
Right.
I'm telling you now. The minute the bullets start flying, Antifa will cease to exist.
I believe that too.
I'm telling you now.
In a quick minute.
I believe that wholeheartedly. This is not the Antifa of Germany in the 1920s. They were willing to die to create the world that they wanted. They were willing to assassinate people with hand grenades. Do you remember there was a little pistol, called the Liberator? Do you remember that? It was a one-shot 45 caliber pistol. Okay? There were companies like Singer Sewing Machine who made them by the thousands. And what the Americans did is they found these pockets of resistance that were fighting the Germans, these communist groups, and they dropped them all these pistols with all these 45 caliber rounds so they can walk up to German soldiers and shoot them in the back of the head and take their weapons. The Americans were the ones who were arming Antifa in Germany and in France and in Czechoslovakia. We armed them, the communists, because it was to our advantage. This is not the case anymore here. This is not the case anymore here in the United States. I don't see anybody.
In a way, it is. Here's the catch-22.
Okay.
Some of you may have already heard this new title that they're giving to Antifa, and it's been an interesting title, but they're calling them ISIS Antifa. And it's because it's because ISIS is training some of the so-called leaders of Antifa.
Right.
But if you think about the fact in World War II, we actually gave weapons to Antifa to help us in our fight.
Absolutely.
The former administration trained and weaponized ISIS for the same reason. They wanted them to be the private army of the left-wing liberals. So indirectly, we are doing the same thing again. We are giving the weapons to Antifa through ISIS. So yeah, it's the same shit.
Now, could I point something out? I just like to point something out. Is this happening in Texas?
Is
this happening in Oklahoma?
I have no idea.
No, you don't have any idea because
there are
it's not.
Some liberals. Well, the liberal cities are kind of closed off from the media. So there are things happening that we're not aware of. But I'm sure that the itch is in the air for all of them to claim a piece of territory. And you can bet that the Democrat mayors and governors are working together to try to help make that happen, to create more autonomous zones.
Now, can you see this happening in, say, West Virginia, Oklahoma?
Oh, that would be funny.
Can you see this happening in any of those cities that Antifa's not in because the population is heavily armed? Do you see that happening? Hold on.
Yeah, I mean,
do you see it happening in Los Angeles? You're gonna tell me?
Give it time.
No. You're gonna tell me that the 18th Street, right? 18th Street is gonna allow Billy Joe Jim Bob from Seattle and Fannie Mae from Portland to come occupy 10 square blocks in Los Angeles, saying it's a free zone. Y'all got to stay in your house.
Here's the deal.
We're going to pay tribute. I'd love to see that. Try that shit in Long Beach.
I think. Yeah, well, you have the Jamaican posse and you have the Mexican Brotherhood. Those are the ones that were in existence when I lived there that I used to get in fights with all the time.
Right.
But all you need is a coalition between an organizer and a local gangbanger. And yes, they will absolutely cordon off a location and call it their own. That's what they dream of. So the possibility of it happening is real. It's just they're going to have to work with the gangbangers.
You know what that does? That cuts off their revenue. You don't let nobody in and nobody out of the city. What's the cartel's biggest product?
Oh, now probably children.
Human trafficking. So you think they're going to allow? You think the cartels in Los Angeles are going to allow some soy boy Antifa guy to F with their bottom line? No, they're going to send 10, 12 guys up here with gold-plated AKs and kill everybody. Just like they do.
But here's the thing. If you can cordon off an area and control it by your gang leaders, then you can also control the traffic in and out. If you get rid of all the cops in that area, you can bring all your little children in there, hide them within that cordoned off area, and then distribute them out to your locations with fairly little influence from law officials because they're not allowed in there.
And you think that the cartel and the over, 75,000 gang members in Los Angeles can't do that? You think they're going to need Soy Boy to do that? Anti-fascist people? You think they don't need that? They like it just the way it is, man. They got the cops on the payroll. They got everybody on the payroll.
I got you.
It's smooth.
I got you, and I understand, and even California Critic understands. But think of this. Antifa, ISIS Antifa, is totally supported by the Democrat Party. That's good. They're financed. Yeah, but all these gangbangers need to do is just declare themselves Antifa, and then they're totally protected by Black Lives Matter, by the Democrat Party, by the Antifa itself. It's not a bad racket. If I was a gangbanger and I wanted to expand my power, one of the things that I would do personally would be to unite with an organization that can help me finance the criminality that I'm already doing. So I can see your side of it, absolutely. But I can also tell you the counter to that, because these people are, first they're dangerous, but also they're not entirely stupid. They're morons, but they're not stupid. They know how to build a network. So it is possible that this cordon zones, these anti-American structures, are going to start popping up in other cities. And we'll just have to see which ones they choose.
But here, look at it my way. Look at it from my point of view. Do you think that the circuit judge sitting in downtown Los Angeles right now, who's on the payroll of the A-Tray Crips, do you think that judge wants to be affiliated with something called Antifa? Or are they going to keep that $10,000 a month check coming in? Because when what's-his-face gets caught, we know he's going to go to that judge and he's going to get off. Why would you throw Antifa into it? They will trust me, Alex, trust me when I say this. If Antifa tries that shit here downtown Los Angeles, they will physically nail them to a concrete wall. And I only say that because I've seen it done.
That's a hell of a nail. This is not going
to happen in any place where the drug cartels control. Los Angeles, Dallas, places like this, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to allow their money to be effed with. Seattle,
Okay.
Portland, places like that.
Yeah.
Yes, because you don't have the major drug influx there.
Well, here's something you're not remembering. And, this is why I love this kind of show with you, Pete, because we can do this. This is awesome. But remember who the gang leaders are.
Yes.
It isn't Tyrone or Mahib or whoever or Enrique Iglesias. It is the Democrats that head up those districts. Those are the boss. So,
no. Don't get it twisted. I know who's running the cartels. Yeah. Why do you think that they want the president out of office so bad? Build a wall.
Oh, that's one of the reasons.
Get your stuff across the border easier as you did before. That means less money to the politicians. Those are the cartel leaders. Oh, Julio down in Jalisco, who's holding the nickel-plated 45 and the big wingtip cowboy boots, he's nothing. He's a poppy grower. The politicians are not good. Who gives a shit about Seattle, Alex? Who cares about Portland, Oregon? Those are
this is going to happen in Michigan too.
Who cares?
It's going to be in Minnesota and Michigan.
Detroit is a ghost town. Chicago.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Right? What is Chicago? Chicago, the bustling city that it used to be? No, it's a hub. It is a literal hub for the cartels in this country. A lot of stuff goes into Chicago, gets distributed East Coast and Midwest. And then you got the cartels coming up from the South and the North. They don't give a shit about these cities. Right. These cities are dead cities to them. Los Angeles.
There is a bright side to Chicago. There really is. What is
it? Beetlejuice
it's run
is the
by
mayor?
Beetlejuice. Yeah. So, I mean, there's always a silver lining.
Always a silver lining. But once you look at the big picture, look at the big picture of this. Really, look
the
at
big
where
picture is that they're going to fail.
Look at where Antifa has their rallies. Look at where they have their things. They have them where they're told. Where they're told. They don't just show
because
up. No.
Right.
They don't.
They're the stormtroopers of the Democrat Party.
Hey, how would the headline look? Antifa storms Dallas police headquarters. 47 dead. How would that look? Oh, wait a minute.
Well,
the police didn't fire a shot. It was the citizenry of Dallas who killed all these people. How would that look?
Those villains, those white supremacists with their guns. Yeah, that would really push the Second Amendment restrictions.
Just remember, like I always say, 300 million registered guns in this country at a 4-to-1 ratio of unregistered guns. Keep that in mind. Oh, we don't even want to talk about the Latin Kings. We don't want to talk about any of the other gangs that have spread out throughout this country. That when I say as a joke, they will rip somebody's arm off and beat them to death with it. That's what they do.
Right.
Antifa does not understand. These little poor kids don't understand that once the big boys tell them you need to do this in Los Angeles and they start getting killed, they don't understand why. Why are they so violent towards us? We're just trying to protect them. They're not going to get it.
Well, then
it's not about them.
And they would be fascist.
It's about cash. That's all it's about is cash.
Well, they only support the people that aren't against them because, once they turn against them, then they become fascists. So the most fascist organization on the planet is Antifa, and what they project upon others is exactly what they do. That's why they're the perfect little foot soldiers of the Democrats, because they've been taught how to do the exact same thing. And even in their manifesto, their description of how they do things, they still think calling somebody a racist and a xenophobe and a phobophobe is going to be effective, but it has lost all the magic. You can sit in my live stream and call me a racist upside down, inside out, and backwards. And, all you're going to get is one of these flybys because I know the reality. So it doesn't even, it doesn't even penetrate the skin. So it has lost its power, but they still think they can do that. And in some cases they do it. They go after corporate leaders and anybody in the media who goes against them. They do the shaming and then, they try to get them removed from their job and all this other crap. Yeah.
Look at Hollywood.
So
look at people like The View, Joy Behar, 80-year-old woman. Look at the things that she says. Do you think she's not being told to say those things? Look at Oprah Winfrey. Look at Oprah. Good
Scripted.
Lord. She's a trillionaire. Look at what she did. She had a special about Black Lives Matter. You know what? If that was the case, Oprah, if Black Lives mattered, you wouldn't have been giving cars away to all them white women in your show. You would have took that money and put it towards education in the inner cities. So don't give me that bullshit. Hollywood is scripted to do what they do. Actors are actors. They're always going to be. You think Robert De Niro gives a shit if Trump is president? No. He's doing what he's told to do while he's being paid to do it. He's being paid to do this. The minute Antifa, you know what they used to do to Antifa people back in the 30s when the Gestapo caught them?
Oh, it wasn't pretty.
What they did to them? I can tell you exactly what the punishment was. Do you want to know?
Oh, please do.
When the
anticipation's killing me.
When the Gestapo caught the anti-fascists, they took a club and broke their arms and legs and left them in the street to die. So everybody can see. The same way the Romans used to nail people to trees so everybody can see. You did wrong, that's what's going to happen.
Vlad the Impaler.
Look, perfect example. Vlad the Impaler.
Tell Antifa mom's meatloaf is done. You have just answered this question and solved the problem, Kelly.
That's right, Kelly. That's right. Just tell them, say, Mom's time for meatloaf. That's it. And they're all leave.
Well, these kids tried something with their open borders by bringing in all the homeless people. And then they realized all the homeless people took all the food. Without regulations, you have nothing that you can handle. But also, in their example of their utopia, they talk about there's going to be certain things allowed to be said. And, if you don't say the things right, then you'll be reprimanded. But you wonder who the hell's going to do the reprimand because
nobody's
there's no cops.
Reprimand me. Who's going to reprimand me?
But they're also the ones that are pushing for the RFID tag so that they can scan you. An official Antifa member will be able to scan your chip. And if you have done anything out of line in the last short period of time, they can cut off your funding and cut off your food supply and stuff like that. So what they're talking about doing is using a socialist enforcement measure, a communist style enforcement measure. So they want to get rid of the cops, and then they want to bring in their own law enforcement that will be, they will be an iron fist ruler when they get established with themselves.
Right. So you did hear that the average age of the anti-fascist movement member, the average age is 21. You heard that, right?
They are idiots. Yeah, I have.
Okay. They have arrested people as old as 32.
Well, what about the 2 lawyers that they arrested that claimed to be Antifa that tried to throw the Molotov cocktail into the cop car?
Right. Yeah. We're talking about the
by the way,
average.
they're getting off.
Of course
Everybody
they are.
that's been arrested is getting off, even the one that shot the captain, the former captain of the police force. So we should be happy about that. They're not going to press charges against any of them.
That's
So
great.
This is what I mean by saying that when if the police aren't going to be helping, then they need to get the hell out of the way. And if they try to come after the people that are trying to liberate cities and stuff like that, if they try to come after the patriots for upholding the laws that they have chosen not to do because their boss told them to, they become enemy combatants, and then there's a serious problem with that too. So they're going to have to, it's either lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. And they're going to have to make that choice because this can't go on much longer. And President Trump and Attorney General William Barr are constantly saying what they're going to do, but and never doing what they say.
That's right. So that's right. And do nothing.
We're reaching that point where there's not going to be a choice. If there's going to be a country, the people themselves are going to have to put it back together. And, that means arresting these mayors and these governors and these police chiefs that are falling in line with all this crap and getting rid of them. Get them out of their positions, put them in jail if they've done prosecutable crime, and then start over.
Here's something that we're forgetting to mention. We forget to mention this because of the overwhelmingness of the media blitz. We forget to mention this. New York, California, let's put it this way. The East Coast and the West Coast are the only thing that are in the news. California, Oregon, Washington State, New York, New Jersey, those states. Detroit, which we consider the Midwest and stuff like that. Two things. These are all Democrat run from the head down cities.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, also, which technically means that we're being run by the 2 coasts because the only concentration is the 2 coasts. We're not allowed to have any independent within the mid-country.
Now, the media is blitzing us with these riots, with these things that are going on. As far as 1 block up where they were busting windows out from my house trying to break into pharmacies and stuff. They're blitzing us with this stuff. Do they not understand? Right. Does the people of the United States not understand that there are, 30 other states in this country that this is not happening in? Because the police lined up and said, if you come to this city and break windows, we are going to shoot you. Do they not show? Does the media not show in I forgot which city, Iowa it was, where the American people who lived in those cities lined up for a mile on each side of the main street while people were protesting, holding signs on the street, and every single one of them had a 12 gauge or an AR or an AK, whatever, to defend their homes, to defend their businesses. And not one protester broke a window and not one patriot got shot. Do they neglect to show us this because it doesn't fit their narrative?
Those are the angry white armed citizens that are, those are dangerous. So they can't show them on the news.
Oh, but, they can't show those people on the news.
Right.
What about
we have already killed off our.
What about the black lady here in Long Beach who was standing outside of her shop with a 12 gauge shotgun defending her little business?
Well, she's a white fascist.
They don't show her on TV either. Do they think that
No.
only white people own businesses, or is that just a narrative?
Well, it was the inner cities and the black-owned businesses that were being leveled to the ground, or as they say, razed to the ground. So, there's a problem there. But we are at our hour, but I wanted to just bring up one last little subject here because I want people to understand that this has all been a plan. It's been choreographed, and everything that is happening now was, remember I was talking about the toe in the water. They always do a pilot program before they initiate their plan. And one of these pilot programs was established in New York. And if you remember this, it says police in New York are increasing their presence in subways Friday after members of far-left Antifa movement called for mass protests against law enforcement and transit fares. So at that time, this was back, I think it was in 18. Let me see up here when the date was. January 31st. I think it was 19. January 31st of 19. But it, of course, doesn't have the year on the stupid article. But anyway, that was a pilot program to get people used to not having police. That was their introduction of their plan to get rid of the police and have a system of citizen patrol coordinated probably by the strongest, because only the strongest and the most armed will be able to enforce anything. So, I just wanted to get that up there because that is an example of them planning and preparing and seeing what kind of response they get from the public. And that's a good example of it. That was the first test.
Yep.
But
I agree.
All right, Pete. I love this show, Pete. This was awesome. Okay. This back and forth, man. I live for this shit. Anyway, I want to take a minute. Right. I want to thank all my moderators for posting links and helping out our fellow patriots on here, getting their links posted. Thank you to everybody that's come over and hung out. Again, thank you, Pete, for the super chat. Just a little side note, my channel is probably destined for erasure. It's going to be gone very soon, so you need to be over here on D Live because that's going to end up being where I'll be. I don't know if this show right now will survive, but we'll see what happens. But if you give a super chat in the YouTube, it will be stolen by YouTube when they kill my channel. So if you want to help me out and help me,
I can vouch for
you. Can drop. Yeah, well, I can. If you want to help me and you want to help grow this channel, then I would recommend using the digital currency over on D Live or using my PayPal. But it's just because I don't want to give money to YouTube that they didn't earn and that they have no right of stealing. But that's exactly what they do. But anyway, with that being said,
I would like to thank everybody in the chat and everybody over on D Live. You guys are fantastic for coming over here after my show. I appreciate it, except Ken Nicely, who just donated a diamond. He just donated a
we kind of like
Ken
Nicely. Thank you very much for that.
I don't understand the name because he's
we'll let everything else slide.
Ken Nicely is very mean to me. Very mean.
But you might deserve it.
Oh my God.
With that being said, y'all, stay in the fight.